I don't know what happened there. It feels like I had a little a little pause in the countdown there. But I think I'm live. Adama, what's up? Can I'm gonna do the usual sound check with 21, that's quite good. 21 in the chat or 21 live with us at the moment. Sound check. I'm gonna ask you very kindly to put a 1 if I'm audible, if I'm clear, and if we're good to go. Sound is clear, Hervé said. Thank you very much. Khalid, how you doing? How's everyone doing? Welcome. Got some ones. Thank you, Adama, Tarsetti, Desniand, and yeah, Khalid once again. Thank you very much. Talia, how are you doing? It's really nice to have everyone here. This is, I know I always say this, but I absolutely mean it this time, going to be a short stream. I've been meaning to kind of take you through my reconstructions of Tuya and Yuya for some time now, and that's what I'm going to do in today's stream. When I've finished taking you through my reconstructions of Tuya and Yuya, I'm going to wrap it up. So my target is to stream for no more than an hour. It's going to be a short one. It's going to be a very rare short stream where I'm not going to go into too much. Hopefully not get sidetracked and just be able to just do this. Because I do have a bit of a backlog of reconstructions where you might have seen them, I might have shared them as community posts, but I haven't put a huge amount of content around them. And I do want to do that. I do want to put some more content around them, but also I think it's really important that I just continue to do that thing that we do where I take you through the process of how I've created them, how I've made decisions regarding features, how I've made decisions regarding complexion, all the above, hairstyles, everything. So, and hopefully just, let you kind of get into my mind and get into what I'm seeing, how I try to portray what I've seen. Okay, so today's Tuya and Yuya, who most of you will know are the parents of Queen T. Tuya had a royal title, which was Lady of the Harem. Lady being female lord of the harem, or lord with the feminine T. So I think it's Neb for men who are lords, but Nebt with the feminine to make it a lady. So she was the kind of female lord of the harem. And it's funny, actually, there's this statue that you guys have probably seen. It's a statuette of a young Queen T, but they won't accept that it's Queen T because it doesn't say Queen T. But it doesn't say Queen T is because she wasn't queen, but it's definitely Queen T because she's called the mistress of the harem. Now, the term mistress used is essentially female master of the harem. So that's the child of whoever is the lord or the lady. So we know that this T who's in this statuette, I'll put her up on the screen in a minute, actually. I'll find that on Google and share it with you. But we know that this T was the daughter of the lady of the harem, which would make it Queen T, because Taye, I keep saying T, her name's Taye, which you guys will know is actually quite a popular African name. It's definitely a popular name in Yoruba. Amongst the Yoruba, we have Taye as a very legitimate name. So her name was Queen Taye. So I should be saying, I don't know, I keep saying Queen T. Her name's Queen Taye. So Queen Taye was the daughter of, or this Taye who's in this statue was the daughter of the lady of the harem. And we know that the lady of the harem was Tuya. So therefore, it's definitely Queen T. But I guess there's a bit of I don't know, it's just like a loophole where they don't have to admit it's Queen T because she's not called the queen. But then, yeah, she wouldn't have been the queen because she wasn't married yet to, to her husband. So that would make sense as to why she wasn't married yet to Amenhotep III at that stage. I'm going to find the statuette for you anyway. Statuette, Lady Taye. Let me quickly pull this up on the screen. I'm sure you guys have seen it before. And all the dates coincide as well. So everything about it would suggest that this is Queen Tuya, but they don't want to admit it because, well, when you see it, you'll understand why they don't want to admit it. Open image in new Tabaroo. Let me pull this on the screen. So this is me getting sidetracked already. I just promised you I was going to do a short live stream and not get sidetracked, and I'm already in a sidetrack. So there you go. This is the statuette of Lady Tuya. And this is the young Queen T. And like I said, once again, they don't want to admit it's Queen T, but there's too much circumstantial evidence to suggest that it's not Queen T. First of all, it has to be someone who would have been noble enough for them to make a statue of. Secondly, she's in Tuya's exact pose. So I'll show you statues of Tuya. So this signifies that this is a relation. Sorry, let me zoom out so you can see her pose. This signifies that this is definitely a relation or someone very close to Queen T. Tuya and Tuya are two of the only people who you'll see with this, this particular, every way everything's been put together here with this kind of like very elaborate shoulder pattern thing, the bend at the elbow. I know obviously you see a lot of women who have their pose, but they had a significant, it was like a signature for their lineage to pose like this. So this is Queen T. Yeah, this is Queen T, and it's actually a lovely statue. I know. I only brought it out because I was just given a little bit of a biography for Thuya and Yuya. So there you go. That's they were what the interesting thing about them is that the entire family were definitely involved, were of nobility. They were of very high status. They were very much involved, a part of the royal houses before the marriage even took place. It's interesting. Very interesting how the kind of backstory that they have there. But I've always wanted to do reconstructions of Tuya and Yuya. And actually, those of you who will know, I've been doing Yuya's reconstruction for a long time now. So actually, this has actually been a long time in the making. It's actually been a really long time in the making, me creating these reconstructions. So I'm actually really happy that I've got to this stage now where I think I've got 2 reconstructions that I'm quite happy with, that have quite a good deal of contributing data that has got me where I am. So yeah, good times. So without any further ado, let's start the process. And what we're going to do today really simply is just, I'm going to take you through the various artworks that have fed into the process. I might also intermingle that with a little bit of some of the older versions of the reconstruction, so you can kind of see how it evolved to get there. And then I'll just show you the final reconstructions and kind of show you comparisons of the reconstructions next to the statues, and then obviously just kind of invite your feedback and your input, which would be very much welcome. Let me give a big shout out to Surfactant, who's given a $5 donation. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Your generosity is very much appreciated. What's going on here? Okay, here we go. I can close that down now, and I'll just pop that donation on the screen. And just bear with me for a second, because I've got one more set of things that I need to unzip. Files. I know you guys are very quick, with the pause on this. I've got one more set of files that I need to unzip. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay. There we go. Cool. So let's copy those. Whilst I'm doing that, how is everyone? Hope everyone's very, very well. Oh man, that's a fact. Did you have to come for me like that? Don't come for why would you do that? Why this listen, I'll end this stream early, don't leave me alone, man. I'm never gonna live that down. Oh man, never gonna live it down. I know you're forgiven because it's you. Anyone else, and I would have been on my mods to to ban you, but you can't ban yourself. So I guess you get a bly in that sense. One more folder that I've got. 1 second, confused. This must be it here. This one. Yeah, extract tool. Boom. Extract. Do. Oh, that's a nice description of Tuya in Ethiopia as well. It says the name discoveries site says the name Tuya in Ethiopia is often related to qualities such as gracefulness, beauty, and effective communication. In Sanskrit, it means bird. Very nice. It's interesting because I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, but it's very much accepted amongst Egyptology that Tuya is seen as a Nubian name. Now, obviously, this is Egyptology, so Nubian can mean anything. When they say Nubian, they could literally mean, you know, actual Nubians, or they could mean Kushites, or they could just mean any African, black African that wasn't that they saw as external to Kemet. But they see Tuya's name as a Nubian name. I don't know why. This is you can never know what the reasoning behind the decision making in Egyptology is most of the time. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as a kind of quid pro quo. Let me we are going to start in a second, guys. We're making for good time, and then once we're rolling, we are fully rolling. Okay. Just got a few folders that I want to be open simultaneously. So that's one. Superb. I keep my files in so many different places, and then during these live streams, I kind of want it to flow with a bit of fluidity. I want to flow with fluidity, so I have everything kind of open simultaneously. Okay, boom. Oh, so actually I can minimize that. Well, let's start with Tuya, and then we'll come on to Yuya next. So one more folder. So I've got that folder open. Let's take this one. Do not like us. No, too small. Okay. Boom. All right, let's get started. Cool. All right, we can get started now. Hit the like, people. And yeah, Nerd Large says Nubian equals true Negro. Exactly. Yeah, so God only knows what they're thinking when they say that. But that aside, let's now get cracking. Hi, Macy. Let's get cracking. I'm going to start off with where I started, actually, because that would be easy. I knew that will be this reconstruction that you've all seen before. So I'm just going to pop on the screen. It's the one that's actually on the screen. So I could have just actually pointed to the one that's already on the screen, but I'm trying to get the solo picture up for everyone to see that. Okay, cool. So this is where I started, and it's not going to let me zoom because it's just doing that thing when nothing works anymore. Oh, did it just crash? Yeah, it just crashed. I need a new photo viewer. I really, really do. Does anyone else have the problem with Microsoft Photos not loading up photos anymore? Photoshop is too slow. And Lightroom. Let me try Lightroom. Lightroom's not really friendly. I hate it, to be totally honest with you. Let me try Lightroom. It doesn't crash, but it's so ugly. And it's slow as well. Imagine this, just to view photos. I'm going through all of doing all this because Microsoft can't get their act together. And I should have a Mac. I'm scared of making a cross grade, but I've been saying for years, I've never really given myself the reason to get a Mac. I'm always like, I'm all right. I don't need it. But I clearly do. Oh, good Lord. Check a packet to pay. All right, here we go. Let's try this. I'm in another program now, so let's go to that folder. Okay, so it's all pretty much there. It's not really any order here. Yeah, it's just not ideal, is it? I don't know what to do here. I'm going to try again. I'm just going to try using the photo viewer because you know what, Lightroom is just too slow. I can't deal with it and it's too confusing, even though the images look clear. Let me try again. Will it zoom? And it's zooming. Look at that for inconsistency. Here we go. Okay, so let's start. Thank you for your patience, guys. Sorry about that. 81 in the house. Thank you guys for being. Someone saying TK, I'm feeling like Kendrick Lamar. You know what's really funny, yeah? There's this there's like this spoof of They're Not Like Us that I saw on TikTok, which is this guy who's doing it like dude, he's singing They're Not Like Us, but he's doing it like an old man. It's so funny. I don't know if anyone's seen that. He's like, you a rapper, young whippersnapper. Oh my God. I'm not going to try and sing it because I'm going to murder it. And you just have to see it. But if you've seen that rapper, young whippersnapper remix of They're Not Like Us, it's worth its weight in gold. It's so funny. Queen Tuya. Here she is. This is where I started off with. And this statuette, I should say, of Queen Tuya, sorry, get confused, of Queen Tuya was where I started. It's a really beautiful statuette, and actually, if you zoom out, it just has really, to me, some very undeniable African attributes to it. When I actually reconstructed the body, which I'll show you, of this statuette soon, you'll see that she has a really African body, and I hope no one takes this offensively. She has very broad, square shoulders. And even though she's very full in the body, you can see she's clearly not overweight in any way, shape, or form. When I recreated this body as a real kind of human, keeping all of the curves and everything as I saw it, the result was so undeniably African. I was like, look at it, I was like, there's no other people that produce a body with these proportions other than an African person, and I'll show you that soon anyway. But this is a really lovely statue, and obviously the face is very much an African face. Now we have the nose that's got very, very slight damage, but irrespective of that, now she's got quite a broad nose. But then I am a little bit suspicious of some of the darkening around the edges, and you guys will know why if you've been on my channel for long enough. You guys will know why. Okay. Okay, you guys will know why. I realize there's nothing out of bounds for these Egyptologists, or I say Egyptologists, for these curators, and sometimes these Arabs and Egyptians, they just don't respect anything. And so that's got me thinking that some of this darkening around the eye does look a little bit suspect. So had they done a job to make the nose kind of a bit, sand down around certain areas above the lip and around, it just looks like their handiwork. It even looks like the varnish might have been sandblasted off, and a clue of that can be often seen when they have these big cracks and the crevices are really dark inside the crack. That's normally a clue that they've just basically, it came to them perhaps entirely varnished and they've just sanded everything down. So I think irrespective of that, you guys can see that this is still a very African woman. It's just like undeniably African. But for me, what was important that I need to preserve some features. Now, I'm going to mention some standout features that Queen Tuya, sorry, I say Queen, she's not Queen, Lady Tuya has some very clear standout features, okay? One of them is she has this really pronounced and circular face, and you're going to see that this is a theme as I go through her artworks. So she has this very pronounced and circular face. She has moderate to large eyes, not quite as big as her daughters, but relatively large. But her eyes are quite flat. Queen Tuya's slanty eyes, i.e. the eyes that kind of like dip towards the center and go up towards the back, that really comes from her dad. And you're going to see that. So Queen Tuya actually has Yuya's shape eyes, and you see that on all of his artwork, which is really interesting. But she has definitely got that this round face, Tuya that is, that follows throughout all of her artwork. She has very quiet, you know, round, pronounced cheeks. She hasn't got, there's nothing sucked in or drawn in there. It's quite a full face. Okay, and she has these, she has, I'm not going to say puffy eyelids, but she's quite full above the eye, from the eye to the eyebrow. She's quite full in that region. Now, when I was doing early renditions of Tuya, I did miss this quite a bit, so I had to keep tweaking and peaking. In fact, I think that might be good timing to show you kind of like an older rendition, so you can see this progression from one to the next. So let me just quickly pull up an older rendition and then show you how that changed. If I can find one on here, I should be able to. Yeah, so I'm going to pull up one of my original renditions. Okay, so this is one of my very early first renditions. Okay, and you're going to see it needed some work. Where is it? Here we go. So let me just pull up this one here. Well, let me open that up. So this is one of my first renditions, and I did like it. I think shape-wise it was good. The face, you can see, although I got the fullness of the cheeks in this kind of first rendition, let me just quickly put it side by side. I'm going to minimize it. Although I got the fullness of the cheeks, you can see I was just missing in a few areas. I know a lot of people think I just like chuck statues into AI and then let AI do all of the work, but that really is so far from my process. My process is very manual and very labor intensive. Okay, but although I had the roundness, got some of the roundness of the cheeks, I'll tell you what's wrong with this first rendition. Okay, the size of the lips is right, the shape of the lips is incorrect. Okay, so I got the size right, but the shape of the lips isn't quite correct. I do like the fact that I've got that kind of like pokey out kind of ness, for want of a better word, that pokey outness of her lips. I feel like I've nailed that quite well. The shape of the face isn't quite right. Now, on top of the eyes is where I lost a lot of connection, I feel like. So I feel like this area on top of the eyes is disconnected from this statue, okay? And the kind of roundness of the forehead. So although you can see a circular face, I hadn't captured the roundness of the face. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to do. I wanted to get that all round circularness of her face that you can see in this statue, because it's such a consistent theme. Okay, so it's taking you along this little journey with me. Now, I did a few renditions and I did actually get quite close in this kind of like first round. So I'll show you where I kind of ended up in this first version of reconstructions, because the end was actually quite good. Let me open this and see if it still opens. I'm going to close this one now. Here it is. So this is where I ended up in this kind of like first version, and I'll just show you some of the corrections that have been made, because there wasn't a huge amount, but there's just a few. One second, let me zoom. No, it won't let me zoom. It's like literally picking. It's literally like a lottery as to whether or not it's going to let me zoom or not. Let me go full screen so you guys can see it actually. Yeah, excellent. So above the eyes, you can see I've transferred over some of that puffiness above the eyes now. So to me, that was an improvement. The nose isn't quite right, but there is a reason why the nose looks like this. And you're going to see that in some of the other statues. The lips are, I feel like the lips have shown quite a lot of improvement. I've got the pokey outness, I've got the shape and the shape of the face and even the shape of the forehead. Can you see how the forehead's more rounded now and a bit more kind of like, it gives the overall circularity, if there's such a word. I don't care, I'm making it up today. Circularity of the face. So I feel like the face now has that kind of procession where it pokes forward a little bit. So I was happy with that. So this is kind of like round one version of reconstructions, and this was getting closer. So this is not miles away from where I ended up, but you could kind of see the progression that was made from the first rendition to where we are here. Okay, so I'm going to close that now. So let's look at some more pieces, because this is where Tuya and Yuya just get really, really interesting. So the first one I'm going to show you is the one, well, the one that's on the screen is one that I'm showing you. I'm now going to just kind of scroll through, if it allows me to. Will it? 1 second. Will it let me scroll? Maybe when I zoom out. No scroll option. Okay, no worries. I will just open up my next image. So the next image I'm going to show you is my drive. Here it is. Must be my Yuya drive. Here it is. So the next image I'm going to show you is this one, and I'm really proud of this image. You guys know this already if you've been on my live streams before, because I captured this image whilst I was at the Louvre. And this is a very a lot of people aren't aware of this statue of Thuya and Yuya. So this is one that I found that was in the Louvre that I absolutely love. I love it because it's very discreet, but also because I learned so much about the faces of Tuya and Yuya from this statue and other statues like this. So we're going to focus in on Tuya, who's obviously to our right over here. Will it let me zoom? I've got a close-up. If it won't let me zoom, I'm just going to open up the close-up instead. Yeah. Close all windows. Let me quickly get a close-up. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. So I'm forcing to close windows because it gets a bit mad. So this is a nice close-up. Remember what I was saying to you about her very circular face? Her very circular face that kind of pokes out. All right. This is Tuya again. And if I just quickly put her, once again, let me minimize this if it lets me. There we go. I can put her alongside that statue and you can see how consistent her features are. And I love that when I'm doing my reconstruction work. I love when there's consistency between the statues, because then I start to gain a lot of confidence in terms of any reconstruction that I'm making. So you can see here, you can see the consistency of that round face. She does look a little bit trimmer in this. You can see the cheeks are a tiny bit more drawn, but other than that, the features are there. Now, one of the main things I mentioned before is her nose. As you can see in this image, which has been damaged, we get a much better picture of her nose here because it's a similar width. So her nose is similar width. She still has a wide nose, but it's got a little bit more poke to it. Okay, so we can start to get an idea of what the body of her nose looked like. And I think that's really important. Okay, so we've got an idea of what the body of her nose is like. We know that the face is worn down, but we've still got very similar features, and we can learn a lot from this statue. So I used this statue quite a bit. I'm just going to quickly show you this statue as well. Well, let me scroll through. I'm going to show you the statue from side view as well, so you can see the. Did I take the side view statue? No, I didn't take it. Okay, don't worry. but basically you'll see how much her draw proceeds forward. She's really prognatic. So guys, just ban dark side. Don't have discussion with her. If there's anyone who's in the chat who's a moderator, just ban the troll. We haven't got time for the idiots. So yeah, so from side view you can see that she's actually quite prognatic, and yeah, it was just nice to see her features falling in that kind of rhythm. So that was a really nice image. Now I'll show you another image of Queen Tuya as well at this point. Thank you very much, whoever did surfactant. Thank you very much. We ain't got time for those people. Let me find another image. Now this is an image of them as a couple. Now this one is a little bit of a red. Well, I say it's a red herring. In fact, before I say it's a red herring, I'm going to just quickly pull back. Well, let me scroll. No, I'm going to quickly pull back the image of them as a couple again. That's okay, surfactant. I appreciate you doing the moderating, especially if you're busy. That's no problem. All right, so this is them as a couple. I think it'll let me zoom now. Wicked. All right. And they are, one beautiful thing about them is that they're very consistent with their couple photos. You know, I know what their favored hairstyles are. Okay. And it made it really easy to pick them out. So this is them as a couple, and I'm going to show you another couple statue of Thuya and Yuya as well, just here. So here's another couple statue of Thuya and Yuya. Now this one, in my mind, they're much older, but this one's a bit of a red herring. Oh, will it let me zoom in? No, it's just crashing. I'm going to try and load it again. No, there we go. It's just crashed. Let me try again. This is the most inconsistent. Oh, Lord. Let me try again. How about this time? No, it still won't let me zoom. I need a zoom, man. You're going to have to let me zoom, please. I need to show you guys something here. Lord. This is like a new, every time this is some new problem. This is just like a whole new problem. Still won't let me zoom. This is garbage, man. Okay, I'm gonna have to open it in Photoshop because I need to show you this. Oh my God, this is so painful. Well, let me open it in Lightroom. Yeah, that's fine. Let me open it in Lightroom. It's fine. Let's bear with me one moment. I'll have it open. Right. Here it is. Okay, let me pull Lightroom on. Good Lord. You can see it. When I put this on the screen, you're going to see why I don't want to use this program, because it's so clunky. But for now, I think at least we can get a zoom going. Great. All right, so I'm going to zoom right in. Brilliant. Drag down. Now, you'll see that Yuya has a really funny build here, because this is actually Yuya over here with the big belly. Okay. I haven't inscribed or transcribed the the Medinetta around the side, which I'm sure will hopefully just tell us that he's a little bit old and out of shape. But in my mind anyway, looking at this, I think you can see visibly from their face that they're older in this image. But one of the things that they still have their signature hairstyles, which you can't quite see because they're in shadows, and she looks very similar to how they look in other statues. But here's the thing that's really different in this image. What's really different in this image is the breadth of the nose. Yeah, they have much significantly wider noses in this statue, and this is why this image to me was quite a kind of like, oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting, because obviously their features don't present like this in all of their statues. This one, I mean, these ones are just undeniable. These are really strong features. These are very close to being these are very close to being Southern Sudanese features in my view. I look at both of these and I do see, Southern Sudanese kind of look to them here, which is slightly, it's slightly different. So it has some similarities, but just the nose itself. So then the question mark you have is, okay, which one is given a true form, or was there a reason why? It's quite hard to know. But as a rule of thumb, and you guys know me about this, because I have to deal with what I have in terms of the weight of the evidence. And because the weight of evidence, for at least when we're looking at Tuya for her statues, seem to have a more moderately side, I have to ignore this one because this is the outlier. And I can't professionally take the outlier and say, well, that's what I'm going to use to make my, unless the outlier is the most detailed portrait. But because it's kind of like on a par in terms of its level of detail with all of the other portraits we've got, I can't take this and say this is what I'm going to use as my authority. So it's one of the things where I just have to view it, pop it in my head, say I've seen it, reference it to some degree if I have any troubles with projection or stuff like that. But aside from that, I can't use it as my kind of like as my source of truth, because it very much is the outlier. And I feel like her other portraits are a little bit more consistent. Okay, but I just wanted to show you that one. And actually there's one that's right next to it as well. So let's see if we can pull this up. If it lets me. There's also this statue, which I'm not 100% sure about. Let me put it up on the screen. Okay. This one, when I saw, I wasn't 100% sure if it's them. So I think we have matching dates, matching periods, very much matching presentation. This, without a doubt, is Yuya's hairstyle. This, without a doubt, is Tuya's hairstyle. This, without a doubt, is Tuya's face shape. This one, almost without a doubt, is Yuya's face shape. However, once again, just that degree of uncertainty. If I was to make a guess and this ended up being them, I'd say they were much older in this image than they've been shown in the images we've seen so far. So that's what comes to my mind. I think, okay, well, if this is them, I think this is quite elderly version of them. That's kind of where my mind is going. And also you can see, once again, the nose breadth is quite wide. The nose looks a bit shiny. Is there element of tamper in there? Because if you look at the size of the nostrils, but then you look how thin the outside of the nostrils is, my gut says there's been some tamper in here. Whenever noses kind of take on that Michael Jackson look, that's the only thing that I can call it, where you've got a black man's nostrils, but you've got kind of like really thin. The reason, by the way, Michael Jackson's nose looks peculiar to a lot of people, obviously I know it has a weird shape, but it's also because he has black people's nostrils, but he has but the outside of the nostril has been made really, really thin. Okay, that's the reason why. So when you've got this Michael Jackson nose in Kemet, when it pops up, there's basically a clue that they've tampered with the nose. Okay, you probably had a much more African nose, and now you've got a very exposed nostril from the front, very exposed nostril, because the nose has been basically tampered, sanded down, sanded at the sides, sanded at the front. So I think this might have looked very different originally, but I still think they haven't done a good job, because it's still a wide nose. It's still an African nose, irrespective of how much tampering they have done to them. So I think this is definitely a candidate. It's up there with being Thuya and Yuya also. Now, the next statue we're going to look at of Tuya is one you would have seen quite a bit of, because I've shown it. It's one of the ones that I used on when we did the noses live stream. So let me just pull this up on the screen. I'm not talking about the bridge. Someone said it's called the bridge, not the nose bridge. I'm talking about the outside of the nostril, not The bridge is between your eyes towards the point of your nose. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that kind of layer of outside your nostril. I don't know what you call it. Your outer nostril. It's probably got a anthropological name that I need to learn. If I'm going to be totally honest with you, if anyone knows the name, the nares. There you go. Thank you. The nares, passports and profits. There, well, that would do. The nares. So yeah, there you go. They've got tampered nares. I'll learn to use that from now on. Okay. Yeah, so let me show you this statue. I need to just give up on photos because it's not doing the zoom thing. I'm just going to close it down. Let me pull it up on here because this seems to be a bit more reliable. It's just taking me a little bit longer to find my photos, which is slightly annoying. Okay, so now this one's just, this is not the one. Close all. Do you need to refresh? So annoying. See, I stay quite calm on these live streams. I really do. But you lot don't know right now, I really want to throw a brick at my screen. That's how irritated I am. I'm literally seething at how poorly this thing is performing. Seething. Okay, here we go. So this is the image I want to show you. And you guys have seen this. So once again, this is Queen T. I believe this to be a youngish Queen T, but you guys would have seen this one because I've shown it to you so many times. It's a very not T, sorry, lady, sorry. This is Tuya, Lady Tuya, and all the familiar signatures that we expect of her, that very round face, but we have a very tampered statue, okay? You guys know this is tampered statue because I've taken the close-up image. This nose is a complete and total fabrication. So they've actually gone in and just literally chiseled off her original nose, done their best to kind of like smooth down. You can kind of see out here, all of these kind of rough areas in my mind is where they've done their chiseling and sanding and, you know, attempted smoothing before placing on their smaller, narrower, pointier fabricated nose, which someone pointed out the other day barely has any nostrils. Look at tiny little nostrils. This is one of the worst nose jobs they've done. I'm surprised it's still on display. Let me show you this from another angle. If anyone was in kind of doubt about whether or not that nose has been replaced, it absolutely has been. And there you can see that roughage around there. Yeah, can you see all that around there? That's where they've tried their best to clean up what would have been the previous nose before they put on this fabricated nose. So we already know that this is just a really awful, well, they don't have any boundaries in terms of the awful things that they'll do. Fortunately for them, I mean for us though, irrespective of their attempted tampering, there's still little bits and bobs we can learn from the artwork, even though they've tried their best to destroy it. So that was quite interesting seeing that one there. Now I'm just having a quick look for my folders to see if there's any others that I wanted to show you. I think that was it. So now I'm going to kind of show you my various renditions of Lady Tuya. I need to stop saying Queen. Of Lady Tuya. So I'm going to first of all pull up the full length one. In fact, let me do a close up first of all, so you can see where I ended up with her face. Right in there. I have so many versions. I've got to be so careful that I show you the final one. Yes, okay, I think that is it then. Sorry, I'll be with you just 1 second. Yeah, this is it. This is the final one. So okay, this is it then. So I'm going to quickly sorry, I've got like about 6 million versions, so I've got to scroll through and go, did I change anything before I decided that was the final one? No, that was definitely it. It's so hard sifted through. Okay, so this is my close to final rendition of Lady Tuya, based on kind of an aggregation of the statues that you saw there. I'm gonna quickly just scroll it to the middle. Let me zoom out just a tiny bit. Let me know that you can see it all right. And I'm gonna pull up. Now for me, when I made this reconstruction, it was important because what I'm trying to do is aggregate her various depictions and make sure that I want anyone to be able to essentially pull up any of the statues of Tuya, put it beside this reconstruction, and then say, yeah, that's fair. That's as good as we can get. We are lacking a detailed portrait of Tuya. So the best I can hope for is that you could pull up any of the statues that we've discussed today, put it next to it, and then go, yeah, okay, fine. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. So I haven't looked in the comments for ages, so I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything important. Okay, you guys have been relatively quiet, which actually works for me today, given how many technical difficulties I have. So I'm just going to quickly pull up beside the statuette that we initially started with. Okay. So here's the statuette we initially started with, which isn't going to allow me to zoom, which is great. But the things that I spoke about earlier, so that area above the eyes has been preserved really well. You can see it even though it's a little bit distant. Hopefully you can see it. The roundness of the face, I feel like, is much closer now. And really that was a marrying between this image you're seeing on the screen and the one, that photo that I took at the Louvre that I showed you. I kind of married those two to make sure that I got the projections of her face correct. Lip size and lip shape, to me now, I feel like is spot on. Okay. And the eye size and shape. No, Control Plus doesn't work. Thank you, Mahatma, for trying to help, though. It is well and truly goosed. Okay. This program, which used to work perfectly until Microsoft did an update to it, is now well and truly goosed. It's literally a 25% success ratio open up photos on this. So I have to now pivot again and figure something else out. So yeah, this is kind of where I settled. Now I do want to show you some age modifications of this, actually, this statue that I kind of worked with. So will it let me? Okay, so here's the full length. Here's the full length photo, and this is what I was saying to you guys before. Now, someone did point out to me and I'm going to put my hand up now, this is absolutely the case, that her right foot is forward, not her left foot, and that's incorrect. And I put my hand up, I know it's incorrect. When I tell you, so details like this, as in which foot goes forward, these are things that I don't get too intimate with. I'll normally leave this to some kind of AI generation tool. Listen, when I tell you that I tried, I'm not gonna lie, 100 times regenerate to get that left foot forward, and it just wouldn't do it for me. So I'm stuck with this right foot forward. What I will do at some point is just draw around this and flip it, and then I'll have the left foot forward, because I do think it's important to show them in their correct pose. But this is what I was telling you guys earlier about the shape. Remember I was talking to you about guys about the shape. This to me, now tell me if I'm being an ignoramus. I copied the statue exactly, so this is traceable to the shape of the statue, the broadness of her shoulders, okay, the length of her arms, the length of her legs, and to me that is just like a quintessentially African body. It's quintessentially African. I think you'd really struggle to find women with this kind of, that lady Tuya shape, who aren't African. I really do. I think this is, I think that's the case in my view. So this is the exact shape. In fact, let me just pull that. I'm going to pull that photo back up again so you can see there's been no changes, no exaggeration. I literally traced her exact shape here. So let me pull up this absolutely crap program, which is just killing my vibe. This is the exact shape. So everything from the contours of the hips to the thickness, even the thickness of the arm, I copied. The length of the arm is exactly the shape, and the width of the shoulders, you can see her shoulders come out to here on both sides. Everything is exactly the same. So it's really, for me personally, that's a very, very obviously, visibly African body shape to me. And I know people will argue me and say, there's no such thing. And I was like, no, there is. There actually is such a thing. I'm afraid, you know. I know people don't like the idea of phrenology when it doesn't lean in their favor, but there is such a thing. Okay. All right. Now there's other thing. So I want to show you an older rendition of Tuya, because the question mark that everyone's going to be saying as well, does it look like her mummy? That's quite an important question that we need to answer, isn't it? Okay. Does it look like, okay, you've done a reconstruction of her, but does it look like her mummy? And my answer is, I think it does. I think it looks just like her mummy. And I'm going to show you now. So let me pull up an older rendition of her. When I say older, I mean older in age. Just bear with me. And I'm going to give you my logic and reason as to why I feel it's a really good representation of her mummy as well. Hopefully I've got the side-by-side image somewhere in here. Where's it gone? 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 Tuya. Okay, let me try my other folder. Bear with me. Nope, it's not in there. Oh, do I have to do some downloading? I just need to share something from my phone really quickly to my Google Drive and then show you. I'll show you directly from my Google Drive. Actually, that won't take me too long. I think just showing you the one image will be sufficient as well. So this won't take long. Bear with me one moment. Thank you for your patience, guys. I know we're not a well-oiled machine today, but we'll get to some good content. Here we go. So this is what I want to show you. Where's the moody one? Here it is. It's when you need to not be blind that you're that you can't see anything. Oh, the pressure. Where's it gone? Okay, I couldn't use that one. Was the nose correct in that one? Okay, I'm just going to use this one. Sorry, guys. I know this took a little while. Here we go. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. Google Drive, Tuya. Boom. Okay. Sorry. I don't know why this wasn't downloaded earlier. Let me... Thank you guys for not all screaming at me. Here it is. So here's the image. All right, I'm going to pull this on the screen. I'm just going to open it directly from my Google Drive because I can't bother doing it the other way. All right, so here, this is the image I wanted to show you. And I'm going to take you through a few things, okay? Because some of this is going to seem very elementary, but some of these things I have to repeat over and over against people. The mummified face, okay, doesn't dictate what a person looked like in life. But what you can get is you can get an idea of where certain guides for a person's face sits. Okay, so everyone has a skinny mummy. Okay, no one has a fat mummy. There's people with really wide faces in life still have skulls pretty much like everyone else. Okay, things like buccal fat are not preserved in mummies, and these are really important to the structure of your face. So what you should be looking for in the mummy is the consistency of certain features. So the thing about the mummy that's really interesting, and let me take you through this, okay? The thing about the mummy that's really, really interesting is that some of these things that we said we see in Lady Tuya, you actually see them on her mummy. So we know we talk extensively about the circular face. You can actually see, I'm not sure what this band is, but you can see where she had kind of like an artificial hairline that she brought down to emphasize the circularness of her face. And you can see that band over here. So you see this kind of dark band that's over her forehead. That's consistent with her lifetime things. I'm not sure exactly what she used to do, if she used to glue hair down or used to just have some kind of artificial kind of braiding, but you can see it down to here. This is that circular face we're talking about. What you also see as well, yes, she's very prognathic. Someone just mentioned she's got substantial prognathism. We'll work our way down there. But I also want you to note the kind of structure of her brows. Remember we spoke about the fact that the top of her head sticks out. She still has that. You can see that preserved on the mummy. You can also see how wide her face is. So you see that facial width she's got there? That's there. Look how pronounced her side zygomatics are, okay? And her frontal zygomatics. So this entire area here is in, remember, bear in mind, my reconstruction was not based at all on the mummy. So I haven't done a reconstruction from the mummy. But if someone wants to tell me that this is what this mummy looked like in life, I would say I can see that. I can see how you get there. You can see from the facial structure, you can see from the cheekbones, someone's mentioned as well. You can see from the nose bridge. You can also see from the, now the nose obviously has shrunk substantially as you would expect it to. And what that's caused is a slight elongation of the alveolar, which is that kind of like area above the top lip region. But even that's a very African phenotype. That's a very African trait. So even that, I'm thinking if I extended that in my reconstruction, should look, you know, even more African. You have to bear that in mind. The lips and the mouth, I think, are a really good match. Now, the mouth is wider, and I've got two thoughts about this because I have noticed that you're going to see the same trend on Yuya. So my thought process is that either they just had much bigger mouths and bigger lips than all of their depictions show, which is a possibility. They could, you know, we know they've been tampered, but I'm not saying that's the reason. I actually think when the mummies, depending on how the mummies have been stored, when they're stored lying down, I do think that the mouth perhaps spreads somewhat. But the one thing that's indisputable is that these lips have volume, even after mummification, where there should be no volume. The lips have volume. And I think that it carries over, that those full lips that you see, you can even see it in the alveolar region there. Those full lips that you see carry over even after mummification. You can see in life she had full lips. So to me, there's a good degree of consistency there. I'm not saying they look identical. You wouldn't expect them to look identical. This has been mummified for over 3,000 years. But there's no way, in my view, personally, you couldn't go around and say, oh, well, these are completely incompatible faces. They're entirely compatible, in my view. So that's just my personal perception. Obviously, people can believe what they wish and they can argue against them. That's absolutely fine. You are well within your rights to do so. But that's just my kind of like take on the consistency of the reconstruction with the mummy. I think they're quite strong. I think they equate quite well with each other. So that's Tuya, and I think that's all I wanted to cover with Tuya. I want to go into Yuya now, because Yuya is actually for me a much more interesting project. As much as I enjoyed doing Tuya's reconstruction, the entire Yuya project was one that I've wanted to do for so long, and I've been working on it for ages. So now we're going to jump over and we're going to look at Tuya. Now, we've already seen one or two depictions of Tuya, in that we've seen the couple statues. You've seen two couple statues. So let's get into Tuya's, let's get into Yuya's. God, Yuya and Tuya, that was made to trip people up. Let's get into Yuya's artwork, not Tuya's. We've just done Tuya's. So I'm just going to get my Yuya folder open. Brilliant. And I guess we can start anywhere here. So I'm going to start with his car statue here. So let's see if this loads up. I don't know why I keep trying this program. It's just going to disappoint me and get me angry. I know it's not going to work. Yeah, it's not working. So I'm saying, okay, bye. Let's try Lightroom again. Where's my mouse pointer? Here it is. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to pull onto the screen his car statue. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, this statue, obviously, he's been zoomorphized into a falcon, but we do have a preserved face. And this is actually really valuable in many, many ways to me. It's really valuable. Obviously, we have really nice preserved colors. Ooh, reddish brown, reddish brown. It's a black man. Yeah. The black man with brown skin. Yeah. Once again, that preserved color, nothing mysterious about it. It's the color of a majority of African people. All right. No mystery there. No one's looking at this and going, oh my God, what's this color? Everyone who's African knows what they're looking at. Okay, so this is clearly a really nice statue of an African man. But I want to point out to you some of the really important features that we're seeing here. From what I can see from the artwork, Yuya has this kind of beaky nose. He has this kind of like quite prominent beaky shaped nose. Okay, it's relatively wide from the front, but he's got a really strong bridge. Okay, and this is something that's very, very consistent across his artworks. So seeing this statue was actually really nice, because it isn't just a black man on a falcon. It is quite specifically Yuya. Now his hair, I did dreads in his reconstruction, but his hair is normally depicted in this really particular hairstyle with these very closely, close packed twists and all thin locks, which I struggled greatly to recreate. In fact, I tried and then I just gave up because it kept looking like a big mop on his head. I wasn't doing it justice. Now that I've finished the reconstruction, which you're going to see in a moment, I will go back and do the hair correctly, but you'll have to bear with me. The hair's not like it's not a great match at the moment. Now, remember what I said about Yuya's eyes as well. These, if you look carefully, these are Queen T's eyes. Did you note that? Did you see how they dip down and they're up at the back? Okay. And they kind of angle downwards. I believe this is where Queen Tuya gets her eyes from. I think she gets them directly from you, and he has large eyes as well. This is actually one of the things I'm going to improve my reconstruction. I did his eyes big, but I don't think I did them big enough because I made the same error with Queen Tuya when I first did her reconstructions, where I wasn't trusting the artwork enough, and I was thinking, oh, I think they exaggerated with the eyes, until I did the eyes the exact size of the artwork, and then it looked like her, and she looked very human. So I think I've kind of made that assumption again with Yuya, and that's something that I need to work on. Yeah, I do need to work on that. I'm going to be totally honest with you. So, but you'll see when we get there. But either which way, this face that you're seeing right now in front of you for Yuya, very, very consistent. What I love about this statue is it gives us a very direct reference for his complexion, a very direct reference for his complexion. So I was like, okay, cool. I want to keep him in this body of colors that's being presented here. Okay. And it makes it a lot easier to work moving forward. So there you go. That's the car statue. I'm going to show you some other work now. We'll dive back to the statue that I saw at the Louvre. Well, actually, it might be in here. Let me see if I just move left. Okay, we'll come to that one. Here it is. So here's his Louvre statue. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. And remember what I said about these consistent features. Can you see, even though it's worn down, can everyone still see that kind of beaky nose with the strong bridge? Even though it's kind of like, I'm not going to say deliberately, because it could be wear and tear on this statue. Even though it's neat, it's been worn down somewhat, you can still see it's that same nose and those lips as well. He's got kind of pokey lips. Okay, look at his lips here. Look at his lips on this statue here. Okay, so he's got a mouth that's relatively small but quite pokey. Yeah, so quite pokey, prominent lips, a very beaky nose, and once again that consistency with the eyes. Can you see those eyes slanting downwards? Yeah, slanting downwards. Consistent face. Yeah, it's a very consistent face. This makes it really good to work with. This is the hairstyle I was telling you about. So I believe, let me zoom out just a tiny bit. Yeah, so this is the hairstyle I was telling you about. He's almost always depicted with this hairstyle. Every statue I could find of him. Okay, so these really close twists or braids, and then this very layered pattern. I would love to see this hairstyle in real life. I think one of the reasons I struggled to recreate it, because I was like, this hairstyle is so elaborate. I don't even know if we're recreating hairstyles like this to this day. You know, pouty lips. There you go. That's a better word. Wildflower. Thank you. He has pouty lips. So there you go. Let me zoom across. So that's a bit more of a full length picture. He's a little bit breasty, I noticed recently. So he could probably done with going to the gym. Yeah, he's a little bit breasty. So there they are. There's a couple again. Let me just zoom. Let me just quickly go through the folder. In fact, so actually, let's look at this one next. So next one is this. This is his in a coffin, gilded mask, very African face. And once again, I feel like we see those consistent features coming through again. The eyes, same. We all agree, yeah. That pouty mouth, same. All agree? Yes. That you'll see from the side, really strong nose bridge, beaky kind of shaped nose. It's all there, isn't it? Now, the one thing I will say is, other than King Tutankhamun, and maybe I'm trying to think if there's even it goes beyond that. I'm often a little bit skeptical with coffins. I find that the artwork on coffins sometimes takes on a bit of a generic feel, particularly when they're gilded. I kind of feel like they sometimes made compromises for the gilding. That's just the view that I've got from looking at a few coffins that sometimes look a bit samey. In this case, I feel like this coffin is a really good one. I feel like it's quite consistent. So I have to include this in the group of artworks that I'm using. But you can see from even the 3 pieces that I've shown you so far, we are building up a good picture of what his face might have looked like. I think most of you will agree. Yeah, so we are getting a relative degree of consistency with the face. Let's move on. Now this is a Shabti. I don't think this one looks like anything we've seen, but it could be he could have been really young here. So it could have been a young version of him. We've got loads of obviously young Shabtis of King Tutankhamun. I guess we can only see it from the front, but I guess you've got kind of a little bit of a clue that that nose bridge is developing, that kind of prominent nose bridge, and the eyes. So we do have the eyes, we do have the nose bridge. So in fairness, even if this was him like age 12 or something like that, a really young Yuya, we do have some consistency with some of these features. Okay, obviously it looks like a little African boy, but hard to marry this one with the rest of the work that we've seen. And then this is another angle, I think, of that gilded mask that I showed you. Yeah, no, this is different. This is not him. I don't think this is. Not sure what this is. This one. I'm not sure where this one sits in. Let's scroll through. And these ones are. So this is what I was. So these are masks. Tuya and Yuya both have these masks, which I can't place at all. They both have a version of these masks, which doesn't look anything like any of their artwork, and I find really hard to place. So this is what I mean about the gilded masks. Yes, we know we're looking at some kind of African, and I believe that this is Yuya's one, but this isn't consistent with anything we've seen in terms of the shape of his nose, the eyes. Even though they got the right shape, the eyeballs are kind of make them look lazy. So I'm not sure where this sits. Okay, I just don't know where to place it. And obviously even the shape of the face, which looks like it's actually being rebuilt down there, but it's really wide. So I couldn't place this mask of you. I couldn't place this at all. It didn't look consistent at all with like the ones that I've shown you so far. Now, these are old renditions. In fact, I'm going to pull this off screen really quickly because I want to do this in a certain order. Let me quickly, and I'm actually just blind scrolling at the moment, which I didn't want to do. So just bear with me one moment as I organize myself. I will show you. In fact, I'm going to show you this one really quickly that I had on the screen. This is one of my earliest renditions. It's not right. But you can kind of see where I was going, and this is me trying my best to recreate that hairstyle. So remember I was trying to say to you guys that I tried my best to recreate the hairstyle, and in the end I gave up because it looked like a big mop on the head. Well, this is what I was talking about. This is my failed attempt to make Yuya's hairstyle. This reconstruction, I was okay with it, but I was always like, this needs work. It needs work. It looked a little bit like one of the statues, the one in the Louvre. It looked a little bit like the one in the Louvre, but it needed too much work. It was too much of a big miss. So it was kind of like, okay, I've got a rough idea of where I'm going, but this is really rough and it's not right yet. So let me quickly show you where I got to. My PC feels like it's about to crash. Let's hope it doesn't do that, eh? Yeah. I think Lightroom's telling me it's had enough. Okay. Boom. All right. So that's that folder done. Let's now. No, there's an image that was missed out. Sorry, there's an important image of you that I wanted to show you that was missed out there for some reason. I don't know why it's not including it. Come on. Sorry, there's another picture of Yuya that I want to show you where he's on papyrus. It's a side view of him and he has white hair. And it won't load it in this program. Let me see if I can load it in the program that's not well. It's because it's a web P. I don't even know why they made. Here we go. Cool, it's loaded here. Brilliant. So I wanted to show you this one. So this is a papyrus image of Yuya. Okay. And I love this once again. Mysterious red brown. No, just the color of Africans, like we keep saying. Okay. Very nice moderate African skin tone there. We do have that, once again, that shape eye that we're talking about, that kind of like goes down towards the center, that Queen Tuya shape eye. Now, what's interesting actually about this one is I'm always harp on about how accurate they are with steles and these kinds of side portraits. So I was interested to see that the nose doesn't look that kind of pokey on this one. Even the bridge doesn't look that prominent. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. So that's the only thing I think that looks a bit slightly different. Now you could say, well, it's not, you're being a bit too deep, you're looking too deeply into it. It's a papyrus portrait. It's not supposed to be that in depth, but normally actually you can rely on these side profiles to be consistent with statues. That is literally one thing that I've learned. So I was interested to see the nose doesn't look that prominent along the bridge. I was interested to see that. Apart from that, everything else checks out. Got those same pouty lips, I think everyone mentioned before. And also what's really interesting is that he's got this hair that is white. Now, the question mark is the hair white through artifice, i.e., did he have a condition which meant he had white hair? Because this is quite interesting for us to discuss, especially when you take into account how the hair on his mummy ended up looking. So this is what kind of got me down this like rabbit hole with him. Did he have a condition where his hair was white? Did he perhaps peroxide his hair, which is very much a possibility? We know that they've been doing it in that region using cow's urine for a long time. He doesn't look old in this, so I wouldn't say that he's so I wouldn't say that the white hair is a result of aging. Also, he's got it's just got a lot of it. Someone said it's faded. I guess my issue with it being faded is that his eyebrows, his eyeballs, his beard are all black, as is his neck, as is his usek around his neck. So we've got a lot of preserved black on this image to then say I would, if a Eurocentric came to me with that logic and said it's faded, I would turn to them and say, well, why? That's my argument I'd make to them. So I can't now use that argument to say why his hair is white. What I actually settled on is I actually believe the hair might be white as a presentation of that kind of, someone said it, the animal fat, the butter. Someone literally, Joe Bailey said it literally as I was just about to put it on the screen. So I'm going to put an example on the screen of what it could be a depiction of, if I have it. Let me see if I can quickly find it. I think I've got it in here somewhere. Oh, maybe I don't have it. That would be a shame. That would be a shame. Okay, I'm going to find the image for you. I think it's actually quite important just to show you what that looks like. So I'm quickly glance on this here. Here we go. I found it really quickly. So this is actually still very much active amongst the Afar men in Ethiopia. So I'm just going to quickly just pop that on the screen so you guys can see. I'm sure most of you have seen this before, so this is not going to be a massive revelation to any of you. But they use this hair butter as a way of preserving the hairstyle, and often a lot of the time it's very white. So this is, if I was to look at that, in my view, let me open this in a new tab. Yeah. So in my view, this is almost one-to-one what I can see when I look at where's Tuya gone? Oh, the image of Tuya that we were just looking at. Let me see if that's here. Sorry. Yeah, that could be a representation of the same thing. So there's possibilities. We can't be 100% sure, but there's definitely explanations. Now, where it gets interesting, and this is where we do need to consider something along those lines, is when we actually have a look at Tuya's mummy. Okay, because his mummy has that really electric blonde hair, which obviously I've explained ad nauseum is some kind of peroxide result. So to me, looking at the mummy, which I'll pull up on the screen for everyone to see, this is the mummy of Yuya, okay, which I also believe is definitely him, and I'll show you that soon in a minute why. Okay, but this is the mummy of Yuya, and he has that peroxide bright golden hair. Okay, now we know this is not a natural color because it just isn't a natural color. We know that's a result of peroxide. Okay, and obviously all black people, this is how our hair looks when any kind of peroxide would be applied to it. This is exactly what will happen to our hair, or turn this kind of yellowy color. Because I'm not going to go through the science of it because I've done that a million times. If you want to watch me talking about that, look at some of my previous live streams about mummified hair. I have talked about that ad nauseum, so I'm not going to go into that, but it's basically the breakdown of eumelanin, which leaves the residual pheromelanin, which basically, and that is what causes that, is oxidative stress. So whenever hair goes through oxidative stress, it will have exactly the same effect as putting peroxide in your hair, because peroxide is just a chemical way of inducing oxidative stress, and this is why black people's hair turns color in the sun. It's the same kind of process. So in this case, we know by looking at even his stubble on his face has turned this color, everything, eyebrows, eyelashes. So we know that within the mummified wrappings, there's been some kind of chemical reaction which has changed his hair color. But the only reason I raise all of that is because when you look at his when you look at that stele that I showed you, he is one of very few that actually is depicted, and on more than one occasion he's depicted with that white hair, like literally white hair. So either he liked to put butter in his hair, or there is a small possibility that he liked to dye his hair. That's a possibility. There is a possibility he may have done this in life, just based on the fact that he has depictions with white hair, which is quite interesting. So I always keep it open for a possibility. to me, it doesn't change anything to me. It doesn't affect his Africanity. You know, people like to do different weird and quirky things with their hair, but it's just the possibility that we have to leave open. Okay. Now, yeah, so let's carry on. There's someone, wait a second. Did someone just say Yuya's got no lips? Yuya's got like the thickest lips. I'll show you more photos in a moment. When I show you some more photos, you tell me again that Yuya has no lips. Yuya's got super thick lips. You're gonna be really disappointed when I show you some more photos. But anyway, that's that. Now I've taken you through that. Let me now. I think we can get on to the reconstruction. So just bear with me. Will it generate? Okay, cool. Where should we go from? So I feel like I should just start with my end product this time. So actually, let me start with the end product this time. So this is where I ended up with my reconstruction of Yuya. And I'm going to show you some side-by-sides. But this is where I ended up with my reconstruction of Yuya. Okay. Quick walkthrough, and hopefully you can see some of the elements that I've tried to carry through. Prominent nose bridge. Okay. Quite strong, longish nose. Pouty lips, and you're going to see that this works really well side by side. Okay. Big eyes, which I've tried to be consistent with. And I did say to you, I don't feel like I've gone big enough. I feel like I've been really safe with the way that I've portrayed his eyes. Okay. I think they could be bigger. He has that kind of long oval but very round cheeks. So he has oval but very round cheeks, which I've tried to carry as much as possible. And like I said, I struggled with the hair, so I just gave him this kind of short locks style. I know it could be better. I know that it could be better, but I'm actually really happy with this, because remember, my test is that I want to be able to pull up the reconstruction against any of his artwork and for people to say, yeah, fair enough. That's kind of good enough for me. You know, once again, we don't have a plaster cast. We don't have a really detailed portrait of him, but we do have several portraits that show what his face possibly looked like. So to me, I'm going to go through quite a few of his different depictions and then let you be the judge. So let me just pull up this one actually, because this would be a good side-by-side comparison. Okay. So I want you to see that in terms of consistency of face shape, features, eye shape, it's almost there. Like I said, I feel like I've been a bit safe with the eyes. I'd like to be a bit bigger with the eyes, because I feel like I could do a little bit more if I did that. Let me do a little scroll along. So here's a side-by-side comparison again. So you can see where I was at with that. That mouth, unmistakably African. Now, we're going to come on to that. In fact, yeah. I'm going to go this way. Don't worry, we're going to come on to the mummified version. This is a front view. Okay, once again, I feel like I could go a bit bigger with the eyes. Front view of the mummy. So the mask. And also I'm going to show you some of the, let me pull up, I want to pull up some of his other things as well, so you can just see that there's at least in my view, there's a genuine general consistency between what's been produced. Where's it gone? Here we go. So I'm just going to pull this up really quickly for a side-by-side comparison. I'm going to pull up the other view that I just had on the screen. Yeah. So you can see, I feel like there's a consistency there where you could see where someone who was making that car statue, perhaps someone had someone who looked like that in front of them when they made that. That's what's really important. So for me, trying to get them as close, reconstruction as close as possible to the various depictions of the individual is really important. I could show you his statue at the Louvre as well. 1 second, if it lets me scroll. No, it won't let me scroll. It's going to crash. Just hurry up and crash so I can open up again. Thank you. Novi South, how are you? Very good to have you, sir. So there's another depiction of him. I'm going to quickly just scroll along actually with this one. So once again, I feel like the eyes could be a bit bigger. Yeah, the eyes could definitely be a little bit bigger. And perhaps I could be a little bit more aggressive with the cheekbones. But anyway, that aside, what I want to show you now is some comparisons with the mummy, because I think that that's quite important as well. So bear with me. If I just go to here. Actually, so here's a side by side. Here. So let's go from here. So this is just like a little bit of a splash screen. You have the reconstruction in the middle. 1 second. There you go. Yeah. So the reconstruction in the middle of this is a slightly older one. I have changed the nose slightly and the eyes, made them a bit bigger since this one. But I did this just as a reason I'm showing you this is because it gives a bit of a splash of the various pieces of art. And you can see how the reconstruction doesn't stray too far from any of them. So it's really about trying to appreciate as many different pieces of art in one time. Now I'm going to quickly scroll over. Now the mummy. Okay, so this is the mummy of Yuya. So I'm showing from the front, and this is just so everyone's aware, because I think someone said earlier that he has thin lips. He has thick lips, and I can tell you right now, I don't know what mixed means. Social Dilemma podcast. I don't think they look mixed. I think you probably aren't as familiar with different African phenotypes as you probably should be. Have a chat to some of the people in the group who are East African, or who are maybe Nigerian, situated near different types of people, different types of Africans. We don't all have a single look, so it's really important you understand these are African features. I don't know what mixed means. Mixed between two types of Africans, possibly, yeah. 3 types, 4 types of Africans, absolutely. But if you're thinking mixed requires the input of Eurasian, if you think any African requires the input of Eurasian features to produce a face like this, then you just need a little bit more familiarity with African faces, because we don't. So I've pulled them side by side with the mummy. You can see how thick the lips are. In fact, the lips are thicker. Bear in mind how much fat and water a face loses during mummification. You can imagine his lips are probably thicker than this in real life, but these are still very much full African features. Also, if you have a look at the nose, It's very interesting, but the nose is quite similar. That bridge that we talk about, that strong bridge, he has that in mummification, which I thought was quite a really interesting feature. You also see from the side view that I showed you earlier, he has really big nostrils. Okay, so this is just another thing. Like, let me make something very, very clear. Even if you have a white person with a really prominent nose, what they won't have, let me just quickly flip over. What they won't have is nostrils like this. Look at the size of his nostrils. Okay, these are definitely an African person's nostrils. Okay, you won't find Europeans with, you know, large nostrils like this. People often get confused because all of the water, all of the fat has been drawn from the face, so you're left with this really narrow, long face, this narrow, long nose, which has lost its width, has lost its size. This would have been an African face when it was full. We know that because well, it has jet black skin. That's an important thing to note. Okay, and even, you know, there's no normal human being that would just turn, you know, normal, say, pale human being that would just turn completely jet black. You know, it just they have to give us they still haven't come up with a chemical process that would cause a pale skinned person to turn black as a result of mummification. We haven't seen any evidence of that. Okay, so that's really important. Well, no, you don't. So, okay, so you're saying that I can't tell no African American. That I can absolutely tell an African American that we have all types of looks, mate. Well, you do have a huge variety as African Americans, but you don't have as much variety as the African continent, and this is why you need to just settle yourself down and educate yourself, because I don't want you to make a fool of yourself. East Africans, who we have many in the chat, Wildflower, who's one of our admins, she will tell you about what the average East African nose looks like, and she'll tell you what the average, you know, East African lips look like. And if you tell her that Rwandans or Ugandans or other people are mixed because they have those features, if you tell a Ethiopian or Somali or, you know, any of these people that they're mixed as a result of Eurasian intermixture, they will laugh in your face. So once again, I'll just tell you just to settle down, okay, and be easy, because you're not aware. I will tell you, as a Nigerian, we have massive phenotypic diversity, and it's not a result of intermixture with Eurasians. So you think you know these things, but you really are very, very far. I know you haven't been to Africa, so, you know, I know that for a fact. There's no point in even talking to people when they haven't educated themselves beyond a certain point. So just, like I said, chill out, stick around, you'll learn a lot. Okay, there's nothing about this person's face, just to go back to my reconstruction, that looks mixed to me. Okay, nothing that looks mixed. Okay, these are native African features, narrow noses. We don't all have to have super strong South Sudanese or super strong, you know, insert other group, even, you know, San features. You know, we don't all have to have broad, you know, Africans are very phenotypically diverse, and you have to understand that. You have to get yourself out of that mindset that you require Eurasian admixture to present certain features. Okay, you have to get that out of your mindset. Okay, so that's really important to understand. Anyway, let's move on. So where was I? So going back to the mummy, let me just quickly pull up the mummy on the screen. So this is the mummy compared to with an aged version of my reconstruction, although the nose bridge is a bit too big on this one. But hopefully you can see how you would get from, once again, the reconstruction to the mummy. We have that. Remember, we talk about Yuya's triangular face. He's got this kind of, yeah, this oval / triangular face. And you can see the mummy has that triangular face. You can see it's got really strong cheek area that kind of like moves in a triangular format down towards the chin. So you can kind of see where that triangular face would have come from the shape of the face structure. Okay. The brow section up here looks identical. Okay. And bear in mind, once again, I didn't do my reconstruction from the mummy. I just aged reconstruction and see how it compared. And I was pleasantly surprised. The nose, once again, it's shrunk in length. Okay. So it's shrunk in length, just like we saw with 2 years one, it shrinks in length. But if you look at the actual shape of it, it's preserved some of those features, that kind of beakiness. Now, actually, just to be really clear on one thing, Yuya's mummy did go through transnatal craniotomy. This was confirmed in Zahi Hawas's book, Scanning the Pharaohs. So we know on his mummy, they did break the nose bridge. So just to go back to that image, this nose bridge, even though we know he had a prominent nose bridge from some of the artworks, this nose has been exaggerated because the bridge was broken. So his nose wasn't that prominent. This nose bridge was broken to extract the brain because he did go through that process of transnasal craniotomy. So this nose has been exaggerated at the bridge. It wasn't that thingy, but just to clarify there, if anyone was wondering. So he has a prominent nose, but not as prominent as it's shown on the mummy. Okay. But yeah, that just gives you hopefully a good idea of how I got where I got to. I'll just kind of show once again, final on the screen. Just where I'm at. Like I said, I've got some updates to make. Eyes a little bit bigger. I do want to get there. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can kind of see all of those together. Sorry. Too small, too big, too small. That happened in between. Okay. Eyes a little bit bigger. I do need to get there. I do need to see if I could kind of master that hairstyle. But if you look at the shape of the face, I'm really happy with the lips as well. I feel like I've pretty much nailed the lips. I'm kind of happy with the nose. So feature wise, we're nearly there. There's a little bit more to do, but we're nearly there. Okay. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. And yeah, Social Dilemma podcast, I'm not going to continue the conversation with you because you just don't worry. Like I said, stick around, educate yourself, learn a little bit more. Okay. And we'll leave it at that. But there I am. That's it. I just wanted to show you my reconstructions of Tuya and Yuya. I hope that was relatively entertaining for you, and I hope you can kind of see some of the decision making that I made in terms of how I chose features and how I brought them together. Someone said from his corpse, his forehead might be a bit smaller. Let's have a look at that. Might be a good point. Let's have a look. I'm not sure how much of this is actually combed down onto his head. Is there anything? Yeah, that's definitely his hairline starting around there. Let's have a look at my reconstruction. You could be onto something there. Let's have a look. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, fair. I'll take that. Let's see if I can shrink that forehead a little bit. We'll see. Well, to be honest with you, his forehead shouldn't even be shown because his hairstyle, he used to have these kind of like thin twists that would reach right up to just above his brow line. So that's what I kind of tried to recreate here. But like I said, I need to do some extra work. So just bear with me. Okay. That's it. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. It's been fantastic having you on this live stream. I said I'd keep it short and I went on how long? An hour, 45 minutes? Longer than I thought it would be. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Have a fantastic evening all. Just want to touch base with you. Oh, by the way, if you haven't watched the my latest video about the Ankh, please watch it. Really just done a new video basically which kind of proposes that the inspiration for the Ankh is actually the Ankole Watusi cattle, which is the native breed of cattle in Africa. It's a really interesting, I hope, and informative documentary. So please have a watch, enjoy it. And yeah, I think we'll wrap up the stream there. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I'm keeping it short like I promised. Have a good evening, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. Hit up the likes before you go as well. Sorry if you just came in as well. Sorry, we are cutting this one a bit short. We're not cutting it. I did warn you at the start. Bye, everyone.